Hello, my name is Chad Zelmer, and today our presentation will be on how the Industrial Revolution continues to help us. For this presentation, we will be looking into the start of the Pure Food and Drug Act and its significance. We will then discuss some technology and scientific advancements that help us today and if they are federally monitored or not. And we will conclude with our employees and the federal government and how they can help us today in our business and home to be safe and healthy. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, for starters, let's talk about The Jungle. The Jungle was written by Upton Sinclair. The main purpose of this book was to bring to light the poor conditions at the meat factories in order to bring about change. The book describes the conditions at the meat factory as well below what should be considered sanitary and ultimately unhealthy for people to consume. While there were inspections at the time, they were easily distracted by the workers, which allowed workers to pass by meat products that otherwise would have been rejected. There were stories about how some of the meat that was processed to be packed came from animals with diseases. Rats had fallen into meat and got mixed into the product, and some mold was found on some of the meat. Also, the walls had not been cleaned. They were not sanitary, they were full of blood and dirt. Children's medicines were also found to have toxins in them, such as alcohol, cocaine, and even heroin. Thomas Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt, read the book and became sickened by what he had found. He decided that he had to use his power in order to keep the meat industry healthy. He wanted to impose stricter sanitary requirements on the industry by the government. This led to the Pure Food and Drug Act as well as the Meat Inspection Act, both signed on June 30th of 1906. These acts put a halt to the sale of contaminated food and medicines. The new regulations required that food labels were required to be put on canned goods showing what ingredients were in them and when they were packaged. It also required that drug could not fall below the government set purity levels, and the sanitary was to be strictly enforced at meat plants. Ultimately, this led to the start of the Food and Drug Administration. Today, we take a lot of the technology advancements for granted, as they almost seem like second nature to us. PPE, or personal protective equipment, has become a huge technology advancement that has led to the health and safety for people not just at home but also at work. New laws passed by the government put safety requirements in effect at work. However, new products were also developed that were not necessarily set by the government. Some example of products at work include hard hats, especially on construction sites, safety goggles or welding goggles, gloves, and face masks. In the medical field and the dental field, as well as food industries, a lot of workers are required to wear gloves and face masks, not only to protect themselves, but also to ensure that the spread of germs is kept to a minimum. Could you imagine having a medical procedure done and the doctor was not wearing PPE? Would you feel comfortable? These things are important technology advancements that have kept us safe. Now at home, when working with something dusty or dangerous with fumes, there is a lot of times that PPE is used, such as face masks, safety glasses, and gloves. This is for our own protection. However, the government does require manufacturers to list that on the safety labels that people should be using proper protective equipment. Recently, we just went through a pandemic. The government also required wearing face masks when out in public. However, more people invented masks that were not considered government approved. So let's talk about some scientific advancements that are essential for health and safety. The FDA established a quality system regulation for design and validation of health monitoring systems, such as vital sign monitors, CPAP machines, and diabetes monitors. They also have set codes and regulations for the steel used in walking boots to ensure it provides that the right type of support is used to keep the injured person from getting worse off. Recently, there were CPAP machines recalled by Philips. While the recall was voluntary, the FDA did report that the recall was necessary, and it also reported the potential dangers associated with it. It actually called it a Class 1 required recall. Recalls are required to be reported to the FDA, who will review the recall and see if it's necessary or if it's just a health and safety issue. With that being said, there are constantly new products being developed that do not have to be run through the government unless there are safety issues. An example of this is the diabetes tracker. Now, things such as a smartwatch, an animal, or a phone app can help monitor diabetes. There is no government involvement with some of these new inventions. Some government organizations that are set up to help keep us healthy and safe are listed on this page. OSHA, which stands for Occupational Safety and Health Administration, set laws and requirements for work safety that all employers must comply with. If employees or even customers feel that a violation has happened, they are able to file a complaint right through the OSHA website, and an OSHA investigation will be opened. If it is found that the company is in violation of OSHA standards, a business can be fined or even shut down. WHO, otherwise known as the World Health Organization, is a worldwide program that works to focus on international health. WHO is responsible for setting health standards and collecting data to ensure that they can help those in need in medical emergencies. WHO was very involved in the recent pandemic and tried keeping people informed on how to stay safe. Another company is the HHS, otherwise known as the Department of Human and Health Services. This is a government organization that is set up to promote health for U.S. citizens. It has multiple divisions, such as the FDA and CDC, that are all focused on keeping people informed and setting guidelines as well as warnings. They also focus on disease control and prevention and federal regulations on daily use products. Okay, so now let's talk about some workplace safety. How can your employer and the government keep you safe? Well, construction sites are a key area where government and employers can focus on. First, there should be a requirement that mandates the maximum allowance for how many workers can be on a site at a given time. There should also be check-in sheets that are monitored to ensure that everyone's safety has been accounted for. At locations, workers should have a buddy system in place where they are responsible to look out for another person. Inspections by government agencies should be required in order to ensure all safety measurements are being followed. An itemized plan should be sent to the agency ahead of time, laying out a specific safety plan. This is all requirements for everyone to be safe. As far as food industry, every worker should be required to wear a hairnet and safety glasses to ensure that there is no cross contamination. Workers should also be required to monitor how long something has sat out before it has to be removed from the shelf. Food should be prepped to order, not prepped ahead of time. While this will take more time, it will actually help limit the amount of people that are getting sick. Further, there should be safety inspections completed more often by agencies to ensure that everything is up to code and food requirements are being adhered to. Alright, so for some home safety, as far as it goes to the home, I think it would be beneficial to send out flyers to people to remind them about what safety schedules they should adhere to, such as when to check the batteries in their smoke alarms or when to change their furnace filters. Employers and the government can provide education classes to employees, also focusing on safe home practices as well as work practices, and help include cleanliness in the home. Recently, we see that the free COVID testing was sent by the government. However, employers can also do this, as it can ultimately help keep other employees safe and healthy. It also would be a great idea to offer safety checks at the home. This may point out to an unhealthy issue that someone wasn't aware of, such as a leaking pipe, maybe causing mold or something, or maybe an improperly installed wire that could cause a fire in someone's home. A little bit can go a long way with keeping people safe and healthy. I really want to thank you for watching my presentation today. Have a good rest of your afternoon.